So I did promise that I'm gonna answer your questions, and so I'm gonna start any other questions as I'm going free to drop them in the in the chat, or just to get in the live comments. So the first question is from Alok07, and Alok, I hope you're here in the chat. But Alok asks, can I play in the 2030 World Cup for Argentina as an Indian? I am 16, by the way. And to you, Alok, I would say And to you, Alok, I would say the only way that you can play for a certain country in the World Cup is if either your grandparents, your parents, or you are born in that country. So if either one of your grandparents, either from your mom's side or your dad's side is born in Argentina, you will be eligible to play for Argentina. If either your mom or dad is born in Argentina, you will also be able to play for Argentina. And well, since you said you're an Indian, if you are an Indian born in Argentina, you too can play for Argentina. Otherwise, I'm afraid you will not be able to play for Argentina, and you would have to play for the country that either you are born in, or either your parents or your grandparents are born in. And well, if you are an Indian who was born in India, I can see why you want to play for Argentina. Being a South Asian, it is in a sense quite frustrating because it is very difficult to become a pro footballer. The situation here is not great. I even made a video about this on how there's a lot of red tape when it comes to being a South Asian who wants to play professional football, and that is because there are a lot of rules that go into it. If you want to play in England, you need to meet a point system before you can actually be able to play for one of the professional clubs there. That's kind of the same thing that happened to Sunil Chetri. So he was unable to play for QPR because India sits below the 70th ranking and he did not meet the point system. And so if he wanted to play for India, he would have to accumulate points through playing for lower leagues in either Europe or either in the MLS in the US, and he would have to play a lot of matches for that to happen. And so in South Asia itself, the situation isn't necessarily great that you would play, uh, that you would want to play pro football here. I mean, sure, the pay might be good, but you're not at the world level. Like the standard is pretty different. So yes, I can see why you actually want to play for Argentina. And well, if you want to check out that video of why is it so difficult for South Asians, well, I'll link to that in the chat. Yeah, so the video is linked in the chat. Feel free to check it out, and you'll kind of get an explanation of what the situation is like when you're a South Asian and what it's like to play in professional football, or how are you supposed to make it to professional football for that matter. So recently, I've just finished a season here in Malaysia playing for one of the clubs in the WSL, and we finished second in the Confederation Cup. So we finished a silver medal. And well, it was my first season ever playing as a defender. So for the past 12 years, I have played as a striker or a winger, and this was my first whole season and my first time actually playing as a defender. I played as a centre back, a right back, and a left back. Basically, I covered the entire back line. I wouldn't say it was terribly difficult. I don't want to say defending is easy, but I didn't find the transition to be terribly difficult. I think if you've played as an attacker for a really long time, you understand how an attacker thinks. And therefore, it kind of makes it a bit easier in that sense to play as a defender, defending the wingers especially. I think I enjoyed the right back position the most, also because I'm a right footed, and the fact that you go one on one with a winger is pretty cheeky in that sense. I would say, like, I'm seeing it from the other side. Normally, I'm the one driving down the wing, and the defender is trying to block me, but this time I'm trying to block the winger that's running down the wing. And so it was pretty interesting from an experience perspective. I think it's all about being patient as a defender. You know, defenders like to go in first because they think that that gives them that upper hand. But wingers actually want you to go in first because when you go in first, then it makes you it makes it difficult for you to react to how the winger moves. So the thing about us attackers is that we're always just waiting for the defender to make the move. And I don't really understand why defenders would make the first move. Like when I was defending, I was playing as a right back even. I never really made the first move because I know that that's what the attacker wants. So if you can just hold and delay and make the attacker wait there, most of the time they kind of just run out of ideas. And so it will be a lot easier to just uh, get the ball from them or to force them to make a mistake or to make a back pass. So I've been seeing a lot of videos recently of the World Cup because that's the most talked about thing right now. But at the same time, there are a lot of videos about Ronaldo himself and people saying that his ego destroyed him and that he only cares about himself and everyone is kind of a Messi fan and whatnot. I don't really think Ronaldo has an ego issue for that matter. I think the fact that he seems very egotistical is because of the way he carries himself. He on the pitch he's very cocky, but I don't necessarily think that that is a problem. Sure, every now and then could he be a better teammate? Maybe. Does he not celebrate with his team sometimes when he should be celebrating with them? Probably. But ego problem is not something that I would say he has. I think it's more of an alter ego that he has and that he steps on the field and he's just very ruthless in that sense and he knows that if he's not ruthless then he's gonna get kicked out and he's just gonna struggle playing at the highest level if he's not, cocky or if he's not mean in that sense. And so I think he does that because that just helps him be the person that he is and it helps him do what he does best and that is scoring goals. Obviously, once he's off the pitch, he doesn't need to be that person, but we also don't see that side of Ronaldo. We only see him when he's on the pitch. So we assume that he's just cocky in general, when in reality he could just be, and it could just be an alter ego, which I really think it is. It's one of those layers that you have to yourself and you play different roles in different situations because the situation calls for you to be that person. So when you're alone, you're a different person. When you're with your family, you're a different person. When you're at your job, you're a different person. And I think that is just what he's doing. It's just that we see it at a scale and we see him be this very arrogant and cocky person on the pitch and we assume that he is like that. But I would say it's just an alter ego that he's wearing. Well, if there are no questions, I think I am gonna turn this live stream off. I am gonna turn this live stream off. So to whoever joined me, thank you for joining. And I will maybe see you in the next live stream if I get maybe more questions. 2 questions at least, because today I got a grand total of 1 question. So unless you have any questions for me and you want to drop in the chat before I leave, you can do that. But I think this would be the end of this live stream, and I hope you got something out of whatever was discussed here. All right, see you guys in the videos that will come up on Friday. Until then, what?